Hi everyone, I hope you're having a great day and I hope you're staying safe at home. Well, a lot of people say we have stress in our lives and there's nothing we can do about it. A lot of people also say that everyone has stress. That doesn't mean we don't do something about it, because stress causes disease. And if you're unable to lose fat, especially that abdominal belly fat, and you're trying everything, you're jumping from one diet program to another, you're exercising well at night, you're doing everything else, you got to look at your stress levels. You can have the best diet or the best nutrition in the world. You can have the best exercise program. But if you have high levels of cortisol, that's a stress hormone. Every time you get stressed, you produce cortisol. It's good for us when your cortisol levels are elevated for a short period of time. It's bad for us when your cortisol levels stay high in your system for a long time. It makes you fat, makes you put on more abdominal fat. It leads to a hormonal imbalance, a fall in progesterone, maybe an increase in estrogen, a drop in testosterone. And if you have a drop in testosterone, it's very difficult for you to gain lean mass, lean muscle. That is what maintains a strong metabolism. That is what maintains your muscle tone. And the more muscle tone you have, the less fat you have. So I want to share a simple study that I read today, a beautiful study from the University of Yale, where they had a group of people. There's a term that I should introduce you to. It's called it's called cognitive dietary restraint. Cognitive means brain, mind. Dietary means your nutrition, and restraint means your ability to restrain it. So there are two groups of women. Okay, one of these groups of women had high levels of cognitive dietary restraint, which means they're constantly going through a day trying to restrict themselves from food, calculating their foods too much. They get stressed out. There's too much of restraint when it comes to food. Now, how many of us fall in that bucket? From the time we wake up, every meal we eat it with guilt. We don't know if we're eating too much. We don't know if we've eaten too less. We're constantly wondering what our next meal is going to be in order for us to lose that weight. And then we have a group of women which had low cognitive dietary restraint, which means these women are aware of the food that they should eat. And when they eat, they don't eat it with guilt. There's no restraint. You see, when there's restraint, there's a lot of stress that's produced in the human body. Well, you can guess by now what the results were. The group that had high cognitive dietary restraint had higher levels of cortisol and more abdominal fat. And they were exercising, they were dieting, they were doing everything as the next group that had low levels of cognitive dietary restraint, which means they're a little bit easy. They're easy and their cortisol levels are low. My point of this research study is, if you are constantly obsessing about every meal that you eat, if you are constantly guilt eating, if you're constantly Googling foods that are good for you, bad for you, and you're making a big deal about it if you're not getting your quota of superfoods, or you're not getting the foods that you think are good for you, you're increasing your quotient of cognitive dietary restraint, which equals stress, which equals an increase in cortisol, which equals a decrease in DHEA, which equals a decrease in testosterone and a fluctuation of your progesterone and your estrogen and all your other hormones, leading to abdominal fat that does not budge, abdominal fat that you cannot burn. And we're constantly changing our diets and our exercise programs, not realizing that the problem is high cortisol levels. So I was talking about the point that the desperation to lose weight, the desperation for constantly looking at restricting ourselves from different foods, the foods that we love. We understand the foods that we love may not be the foods that we can have in our diet plan right now, but we need to understand that this desperation of weight loss is creating our biggest obstacle: more cortisol levels. And because we have more cortisol levels, we have more belly fat. Look at people around. Their arms will develop, their legs may develop, men, their chests may develop, your back muscles may develop. But when you find that person with constant stubborn abdominal fat, you have to look at stress. You can look at nutrition, no doubt about it. It plays a massive role. But you have to look at your stress levels. So you cannot not look at your stress. So take it easy. That's why I tell people, don't use the word diet, use the word nutrition. Diet means to most people restriction. I'm not allowed to eat this. And the human mind is such that the moment you put a rule, most human minds will look for a way around the rule. So the moment you put restriction, you're putting stress. But when you mindfully assess the situation and realize that my carbs are too much, my sugar is too much, mindfully, and you realize I need to cut down, and you do it peacefully, you do it mindfully, without that restrictive gun on your head, your cortisol levels are going to stay low. And what if you tend to overeat today at lunch? Okay, the guilt is not going to change what you've done. Guilt is only going to increase your cortisol levels again, which is going to increase your abdominal fat. So my point is, be gentle with yourselves. A lot of people look at restriction as punishment. Don't even use the word restriction. Put the foods that are not good for you in a separate category, that you got to limit and that you got to reduce, and the foods that are good for you in another bucket, which you should be having more of. My whole point is changing your mindset. You don't need to make massive changes. And like I said, this desperation of weight loss, okay, is the reason why most people can't lose weight, because they're constantly stressed. They are constantly stressed about whether their exercise was good enough for them, whether their food was good enough to them, and stress is only going to make things worse for you. You need to see, and some of the best results I've seen with our clients worldwide is when they suddenly decide that, I'm going to stop being desperate. I have a goal. I'm going to take it easy. I'm just going to do the things that I'm supposed to do. And that's it. I'm not going to think about my goal. I'm not going to get on the weighing scale. And these people, they change their attitude towards living life. They change their attitude towards restriction, psychological deprivation, and they get better and better. So you have science which is just proving the impact of restriction and stress, creating more stress, guilt. Like I said, you ate an ice cream, just enjoy it. Why are you being guilty about it? Guilt is not going to solve your problem. Guilt is not going to burn calories. Guilt is not making you feel better. So why are you feeding that emotion? If you are guilty before eating something, then don't eat it. Why are you putting yourself into guilt? So my point before we end, because we have a bad connection here right now, my point is reduce the restrictions and start living your life with more awareness, mindfully. One meal at a time. How does this meal make me feel? So many people are eating food that they don't enjoy because they put themselves into a box. Okay, someone else has told them what they should eat and they don't even enjoy it. Like I said, if you don't enjoy what you're eating, it's not working for you. You may lose 2 or 3 or 4 kilos, but it's not working for you. You're creating a bigger problem in your body. Emotional issues, deprivation, which increases cortisol. And imagine waking up every day and thinking about, I have to have food that I don't enjoy. You have stress from the time you have that thought till the time you sleep. And that is the reason why you have more inflammation in your body, and that is the reason why you cannot lose weight. There are good ways of losing weight. Yes, sometimes you got to restrict yourself if you want to achieve that goal really, really well. But change your mindset. Do it because you know it's going to be good for you. Don't do it as restriction. Don't make it negative. If I want to achieve something in life, if I want to bring down my body fat percentage to under 12%, I know I can't even have one ice cream. I can't even have any sugar. Now that's a decision I make willingly because I want to achieve that goal. But when we do it with a negative thing that, oh no, to reach this goal, I need to cut down the things that I love, you've already created psychological deprivation, which means you have chronic stress, which means you are not going to achieve your goal and you are going to put on fat. So you need to understand that. There are studies done by Yale even showing that athletes and people who overtrain, they overtire themselves and they don't rest enough, they have higher levels of cortisol and they have more injury and they have more fat percentage. So even overtraining or punishing your body with exercise is not the answer. The idea is to be gentle with yourself. What is good for you that will help you get your results, slowly move yourself in that line. What is bad for you that will stop you from getting your results, slowly reduce that. Be gentle with yourself. It's as simple as that, because stress is your biggest reason, and high levels of cortisol are not just fat gain. We have bigger problems with higher level of cortisol. We have autoimmune disorders, we have adrenal fatigue, we have Hashimoto's thyroid, we have type 2 diabetes, we have so many lifestyle diseases and serious conditions caused by too much of cortisol levels. So it's not just your weight, it's your overall health. Take it easy. Break down your day, break down your goals, break down your life, and live your life a little more gently. And you'll find that you get your results much, much faster. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep.